A streaky but talented signal caller, Shedeur Sanders' name sparks serious interest for those seeking a franchise quarterback, but a review of the tape reveals a project player rather than a prodigy. Aggressive to attack vertically, Shedeur has no issue taking it to the defense, and he dazzles outside of structure. But ultimately, the processing speed leaves you wanting more. Protected by a porous line that clouds the evaluation, he showed some high-level skill under pressure, but a need to see it come open before he released really held his game back. Let's go over the good, the bad, and the ugly of the tape. The commander of a RPO-heavy offense, Shedeur had no problem attempting to push the ball downfield. He loved to take the attack to the defense when the opportunity presented itself, and showed strong aggression to work the dig space in the intermediate, showing good zip inside 20 yards. One of the best ways to beat the trendy quarters defense is with the Mills concept, using a dig route to drag the safety down, and then out-leveraging the corner with a post. It's a perfectly timed call by Colorado, and Shedeur is throwing as the safety crashes down on the dig, launching this 55 yards to Will Sheppard for the leaping grab and score. The corner should make a better play on this, but that's college DBs for you. However, take nothing away from the rhythm, aggression, and launch by Sanders. Adding pressure to the look, here's a good read paired with aggression. Oregon State sends 6, turning this into a cover 0 look. And a way to correctly attack this is with the jailbreak option. The DBs are generally in a catch technique sitting at the sticks, so a fade from inside breaks the coverage. All the QB's gotta do is stand in. And that he does, dropping this long and over the shoulder to put the Buffs inside the 10. Many fear throwing across the middle, but Shedeur is happy to attack the dig space. I wish you would throw these out the cut with much more frequency, and we'll talk about that later on. But there's aggression and occasional glimpses of anticipation to the middle. Another play we see all over modern football, the dagger concept, runs someone from the slot deep, pushing back the second level, and then has the outside receiver curl into the intermediate space. He's a beat late patting the ball before releasing, but the drive is good, and he's got a wide open window to rip the ball through, hitting his receiver in stride for the catch and run. Here's a really well-placed ball to attack that intermediate dig space again, this time bending it around a defender. There's still a pad of the football and waiting for the cut, but he's throwing it to a covered man, with the zip needed to beat the safety. And here's the best of the bunch, throwing with real anticipation. The underneath level of Nebraska's drop 8 plays too shallow on the long downs, and Shedeur is timing this on the skinny post, throwing at the cut, hitting Sheppard in stride for the first down. His best reading of defenses came against man coverages, where he showed a good ability to spot it early, scan, and find the open option. On third down, this is a nice read of the bunch formation. They have a follow concept drawn up, clearing the underneath space with a drag by Hunter, and then having an outside releasing route curl back into the created space. His eyes are on Hunter as a quick option, seeing the rat defender tag him, before moving to the correct option and firing fast past the outstretched hand of the DB for the first. Here's more attacking of the intermediate, firing when the linebacker clears the window. They can sit off with the chip releases, but as soon as the back releases flat, the linebacker is crashing downhill, opening an opportunity for the dig route. Again, there's the pat you don't want to see, and it stops Hunter from running full speed into this ball. But it's still another chain mover. And here it is again versus Baylor. There's some hesitancy to shift out of the way of the hard A-gap push, but his eyes are to the correct read, and it's a dart for the first. Pressure was a constant theme of the tape, with the right side of this line being particularly poor, and many a play ended before it even started. When there was a chance to make a play under pressure, he could stand in, seeing no drop in the aggressive nature. This is a nice job to see the defense, attacking it for a house call. Reading the safety rotate down over the blitzing corner, Shedeur reads the roll to single high, and knows he has a chance to beat it. The single high safety is far too focused on Hunter, and Jimmy Horn Jr. has a post with inside leverage that could go the distance. The pocket collapses amongst the blitz, but Shedeur stands tall and sends a bomb downfield. It's a little short, but Horn has the smarts to bend back to it, juking the corner out his boots and turning on the jets for 6. And here's nice patience to stand in when the B-gap is overloaded finding his receiver on third down. K-State sends a bending double linebacker blitz over the B gap, knowing they'll create an overload, but this leaves them playing man on the back end, and Colorado called mesh, a perfect beater. Shedeur knows the play's on, standing tall despite the free rusher. The mesh works perfectly, causing two defenders to tackle each other, and the receiver brings in the slightly offline ball with a nice one-handed snag, turning upfield for the first. It wasn't all just aggression though, there was a feel for the check down too, able to go through his initial read and find the available underneath yards. This is a nice patient read against Kansas's dropping cover 3. The zone swallows shut all but the back on this curl flat concept, so he smartly works to him, picking up the available yards. And here it is amongst pressure. The play action crossers concept goes nowhere, and the edge brings pressure with the run accounted for. But the free man doesn't phase Sanders. His eyes remain downfield, reading the mesh point. However, seeing the tangle of traffic and feeling a body encroaching, he whips this out to the check down, getting what's available. His accuracy was certainly mixed, but one area where I think he excels, and where I wish he had been used more, was on the move. This helped him build some natural rhythm that often felt lacking in his game, and helped define the read no matter the defense. There weren't enough of these designs, but this is great timing, placement, and mechanics on the boot out flood. With the tight end motioning to make it 4 strong, they've got the edge sealed for Shedeur to roll out. The boundary corner has to carry the one long, the linebacker has to step up to take the flat, and the safety can't get over to the out route, leaving a nice rhythm ball for Shedeur to find the first. He's shown the ability to throw these back into the hook space too. They boot him on the goal line, and BYU flood hard with it, covering all 3 options working boundary. So Shedeur stops and fires a jump pass cross-body to his tight end, curling up in the hook space for the score. And maybe his best of the season, this time rolling out left for a Hail Mary game winner. Baylor smartly bring the overload blitz, trying to force a hurried decision, but Colorado are one step ahead, booting him left for the deep heave. He's out clean, giving him time to flip his hips, going to the receiver on the boundary to get a one-on-one shot. His prayer gets answered, and Colorado would go on to win in overtime. His ability to throw on the move really stood out in the scramble drill, where his improv magic bailed out the Buffaloes with regularity. The terrible protection forced Shedeur into improv mode with far too high a frequency, but he found a way to make it work, twisting his way out of pressures to find a downfield threat. The right guard provides less resistance than a New York subway turnstile, and Shedeur is forced into escape mode before he even reaches the top of his dropback. He spins and pivots out left, causing 2 defenders to collide, and watch his eyes, always up, looking for a receiving threat. He's got plenty of time, allowing Travis to work his wheels across the field, finding him on the sideline. This one starts out as a lefty rollout, but gets forced back right with the line unable to hold the edge. But watch Sanders' ridiculous athleticism to spin and set up the play once more. He looks as if he's going to work back right and through the pocket, before spinning 180 once more, working back out left. The spin loses 3 defenders and sets him up with space to roll left. And again, the eyes are downfield, looking for the open man. Where else is he going to go but Travis Hunter, finding the phenom drifting himself into space, allowing him to tack on a few more yards. And you've seen him reverse field then spin, but how about the double reverse? The right side has him escaping immediately once more, but with the defense smothering his receivers and the rush closing in, he pivots back right, helping reset his line's blocks, and create space to roll in right. DBs can't be expected to cover for this long, and there's an open man on the boundary for the first. He mostly looked to throw, but his legs also came into play too, showing good power through contact and a great initial burst to get crucial downs. Running stunts at the right side pretty much guaranteed pressure, and here it brings it straight up the middle to Shedeur. But he's as cool as a cucumber, sidestepping the rush and taking off with his receivers blanketed, showing burst to beat the linebacker to the angle. On this one, it takes just a 3-man rush to disrupt the pocket, and reading everything covered, Shedeur decides to call his own number. The pump fake holds the backer, and his burst beats the closing defenders to the line for 6. Down around the goal line, they employed him on quite a few read options, creating a numbers advantage in a condensed space. His vision and power were both helpful here, generating 4 rushing scores. So, the aggressiveness and creativity come in abundance, but ultimately, I'm still left wanting more, and that's mostly down to the processing speed. Shedeur's reading was incredibly erratic, and for as many good clips as we've shown, there's a fair share of misses, poor decisions, and most troubling, an emphasis on late throws. He seems to lack the ability to hit his receiver out of the break with any consistency, requiring the receiver to flash open before he'll attempt the throw. This see it, throw it approach just doesn't cut it in the NFL, and when you couple that with the struggle to lead the runner, problems start to mount. Early on in the Alamo Bowl, the Buffs spread everything out on third to make the decision easier, and both sides of the formation will get receivers open on the short downs. Yet Shedeur waits an age, somehow throwing short of the sticks with only 2 yards to go. BYU does a good job to disguise here, but the initial read comes open. If he puts this on the boundary, it's a first. He then doesn't step up naturally in the pocket, which would have allowed him to find another read to the boundary side. Instead, he's forced to reset his feet before the throw, leaving this short of the sticks and allowing a tackle to bring up fourth. I can't really work out what forced him to not throw this one though, because the read looks clean. The D dropped back into cover 2, and the quick in route is wide open for easy yards. Yet, he just doesn't release it. Waiting this long brings pressure, and you cannot afford to do that with how bad this line is. And the escape plan is poor too. And here he misses a chance to punish a flat defense. Cincy are all playing before the sticks, and this leaves them in real trouble when they lose track of the deep route from the slot. It's great protection this time, and all he's got to do is drop this in the end zone and it's 6. But he just doesn't let it fly. He spooks himself and goes to the backside hitch, and Hunter makes good yards after the catch. But this is still a missed opportunity. And when you combine missed reads with a trend for being late, you get some real disasters. Throwing hitches at corners and cloud coverage, that's a corner giving 5 to 7 yard cushion, is a big quarterback no-no. It's far too easy for the corner to just slowly backpedal and pounce downhill, already sitting right where your route is going to develop. What you definitely can't do is pat this ball before releasing, giving the corner further time to read where this is going. It's poor all around, and Shedeur is punished for the mistake, gifting 6 to the other team. This ball pat was a constant trend on tape, delaying his release and leaving many a ball late. Even when he had his eyes in the right place, he would pat the football, waiting to confirm it was coming open before he released. If he wants to be able to time this hitch, he's got to get through his drop back with more rhythm, and then throw at the cut point, but he's patting before releasing, and this window is closed. Here it is on the dig route. He's never been afraid to throw this ball, but his wait to see the route come open is troubling, and that won't pass in the NFL. Here you see a pat, and it's late and behind, leading to an easy breakup. And here you can really see him wait for it to come open. They've got a nice designed comeback here on third down, but he's a bit late on the release. He needs to be releasing with his back to him, but again, we get a pat on the football, and then a poor transfer of momentum in release, leaving this short of the sticks and requiring his man to work back to the ball for the catch, allowing the defender to stop this short. And here's a dangerously late one up the seam. Kansas's coverage rotation leaves the seam wide open to attack, but he has to rock back before he'll throw it, and this allows pressure to crowd him, leaving him not wanting to step in, throwing at half speed. You can't be late and slow, and the safety's recovering for the pass breakup. A lot of these throws have come with the lack of lead too, and this is an issue that crops up throughout the tape, and is likely to cause him many problems in the NFL. Pro corners feast on balls that are behind, and he's lucky college corners' reactions aren't so quick. When you throw the slant, you're trying to put the ball a foot in front of the numbers, allowing the receiver to run into the ball, using momentum to further the attack. But this one doesn't get close, and is 2 feet behind the back plate. Shepard makes a good attempt, but that's a drop I can forgive. Here it is on the out route where it was a common occurrence. His out route ball was frequently thrown a beat late with the ball on the back hip. It doesn't cost him here with a great pivot by Wester, but NFL DBs will be salivating at the sight of this. And maybe most problematically, there's also a lack of lead deep. They get the man matchup they're hoping for against a bunch formation, and they have a sail route that is going to be very hard to defend. Shedeur reads it nicely, but there's another pat, and then he doesn't step in, leaving this behind rather than leading his receiver to the sideline. And it's so short, it hits the DB in the helmet. And this brings us onto the broader point of his mechanics and arm strength. Even when protected well, Sanders' mechanics wavered drastically. He often doesn't step into his throws, and when he does, his arm, shoulder, and hip are all out of tune, costing him a lot of zip on the ball. His footwork is also erratic. Operating exclusively out of the gun, he was a serial hot stepper, adding extra work to the dropback, frequently drifting back and left rather than straight down the pocket. He would also take extra steps before he released, again, seeing that receiver come out of the break before he felt comfortable with releasing, paired with a series of pats on the football. And watch his front foot, it's very rarely pointing in the direction he intends to throw the football, often working at a 90-degree angle to where he wants to throw, and this really limits the amount of zip he can put on the ball. All of this contributes to make his arm appear weaker than what I think it really is. He's got some good zip to the intermediate, but you see his deep ball top out at around 53 to 55, about 10 yards shorter than many QBs. And when you can't get extra oomph on the ball for a late deep shot, you leave a lot of balls contested. Shedeur also left me wanting more from an arm angles perspective. This has become such a common part of the game. Seeing a QB who doesn't have these side gun releases or off-platform throws to get around defenders was a bit disappointing. It's by no means necessary, but it is worth mentioning. Now, before we conclude, I do want to circle back to something. We try to give y'all the full picture here at Thinking Football, and I think I'd be doing both Shedeur and our audience a huge disservice if I didn't mention just how goddamn terrible this offensive line was. I stand by the criticism, and the lateness and lack of lead still happens when the protection holds. But hey, this line gave him grief all year long. To his credit, he never really saw ghosts or really lost his read because of the pressure. But that's only because his game was so streaky anyway. It's difficult to see if this was caused by pressure anxiety or just his poor mechanics and rhythm. But just keeping it real, this line was garbaggio. Now for me, the game doesn't rise to a high enough level to think he's a starter anytime soon. And man, it's hard to see it happening quickly. The NFL operates at a lightning pace, and if you fall behind the rhythm because of your own mistakes, it's very hard to catch up. I love the aggressiveness, especially facing pressure, but there are too many instances of waiting for his receiver to make the cut, throwing late, or missing reads entirely. His quick game is nice, and he's athletic and can play out of structure and on the move, but his mechanics really limit his game. And yeah, the pressure was bad, but all this happened when the protection held too. There's enough in his game to see him as a developmental quarterback, and I think anyone that does draft him should look to use him on the move early and work to really clean up those mechanics. There's flashes, but ultimately, you're always left wanting more.